She can see when he brakes suddenly, swerves, or even speeds.
They are still learning. They are still very inexperienced. It gives parents such a great chance to be a part of that learning process.
A learning process too often cut short as inexperienced teens take to the road. AAA teamed up with 17 magazine to conduct a survey of teens to find out what they're really doing behind the wheel. Yolanda Clark is with AAA. Ann Choquette is the editor-in-chief of 17. Hey, ladies, good morning to both of you.
Matt.
Parents are going to take the keys away when they hear some of these numbers. Let's get to them. 60% of the teens surveyed admitted that they behave in risky manners, in a risky manner behind the wheel. Did that number surprise you?
Well, absolutely not, Matt. I mean, there's no doubt about the fact that these surveys, or in these results of the survey, really point to the fact that teens and parents need to be involved in a partnership together and focus on their teen driving programs. I mean, when we talk about these numbers and we put them into context, we're talking about the equivalent of one 737 full of teenagers crashing to the ground in this country every single week. I mean, it really is the single riskiest thing that teens will do, and that's something that parents have to come to grips with.
And we've done stories on this show, maybe a dozen stories about people who drive distracted. They're on their cell phone, they're eating. So this happens with adults too, but when you combine teens, and 50% of teens said they talk on a cell phone while they're driving, 46% said they text message their friends while they're driving. They're inexperienced, as Yolanda just said. This is a problem.
It used to be that we had to worry about driving while under the influence. Now we have to worry about driving while distracted. It's amazing. Teens think that they can multitask, like we multitask in the rest of our lives. But when you're driving, you need to single task. And this is so important, and that's why 17 partnered with AAA.
Here's a number that at face value might not sound like a big deal. 58% said they drive with friends in the car. You say, okay. But the problem is, the more teens you put in a car, the higher the risk of an accident. Isn't that right?
Well, that's absolutely true, Matt. I mean, in fact, teens are 4 times more likely to be involved in a crash when they have 3 or more passengers in the car. And as Ann was saying, it adds to the additional distractions. And in fact, we're in the middle of the summer months, July and August, where we see more teens actually involved in fatal car crashes. They're out of school, they're doing more unstructured activities. So the timing for AAA and 17 to be bringing this information forward is really, really good.
And Ann, you said we used to worry about driving under the influence. 11% of the teens surveyed in this survey said they have driven while under the influence. So at one point, 1 out of 10 teens.
And, you know, teens see bad role models in Paris Hilton. They see Lindsay Lohan stumbling out of a club, and they're getting a lot of bad influences. And it's our responsibility, it's everyone's responsibility to be a good role model.
And there's an easy way to do it for a parent. You develop a contract. It basically says, here are the terms under which you're allowed to drive this car. You break the terms, you can't drive the car.
You know, parents give teens the responsibility of driving a car, and they need to give them the responsibility of enforcing the rules of the road. Vow that the radio station is going to stay where it is so you're not fumbling with the radio. Cut the cell phone use. Limit the number of friends. But the most important thing is to just start the conversation with your teen.
As you just said, discourage distractions. And by the way, just like adults, buckle up.
Absolutely. In fact, you can reduce your risk by 50% of surviving a car crash, Matt, by actually just putting on your seatbelt.
Just one simple click can save lives.
Absolutely.
Yolanda Clark and Ann Choquette, thanks very much for the information. And still to come on today, is it possible to overpraise your kids? We're going to find out. That was a fabulous segment. But first, these messages.